Hello, and welcome to Why Victim Thinking Hurts You. Victim thinking is all about not taking personal responsibility. The problem with victim thinking is that you think that something is being done to you rather than for you. When you don't take personal responsibility, you're not acknowledging that there's prior circumstances that put you in the situation that you find yourself. These situations are low-level consciousness situations. In previous lifetimes, previous karma that we created led to the low-level consciousness that we began this life from. So in essence, we're never a victim. What we are is simply unaware of our subconscious thoughts. We're unaware of our low vibrations and low-level consciousness. Oftentimes, we don't know where they come from, and so we think that something is being done to us. Most of my models, and one of my absolute favorite quotes, is from Einstein. You cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness at which it was created. But most of us do not know what level consciousness we create things at because we don't stop to look at our thoughts sufficiently to understand that all problems and conflicts are simply a response to that low level consciousness. The other reason why we don't want to be victims, we want to take personal responsibility, is because we're creating this conflict or problem so that we can raise our consciousness, so that we can raise our vibration. So when you're a victim, what happens is you're expecting covertly or overtly for someone else to meet your needs. And you're also asking someone else to love you unconditionally. No one has ever met your needs. No one has ever loved you unconditionally. It is an inside job, and it's the purpose of a lifetime. We are here to learn to meet our own needs. We are here to learn to love ourselves unconditionally. And we are here to learn to raise vibration or consciousness. That is it. Every single situation, every person, every place, everything that causes any level of conflict is there to help you meet your own needs, choose yourself, love yourself, and raise your consciousness. When you expect another to meet your needs or love you unconditionally, it is because you're not doing it for yourself. And so one of the roundabout ways that the psyche creates conflict is so that the other person is guilted into loving us or meeting our needs. When we get out of victim thinking, we immediately jump into, oh, this is showing up so I can meet my needs, love myself, and choose myself. It's uncomfortable. And oftentimes it requires mourning that you didn't choose the other person or another situation and that you chose yourself. What's super important to understand is nobody ever has a template in their psyche to pick themselves. Nobody has this set up in their psyche. We are immediately set up from the moment of conception, pregnancy, birth, and childhood to meet another's needs and love others as an attempt, a manipulative, covert way to get our needs met. Victimization represents that as an archetype. So why you remain in victim thinking? Partly to hide your real thoughts. At the root of victimization is a judgment. You're judging another person because you think you're better than them. In order to hide that pride, you stay in victim. It's a vicious cycle. It's like having an impure thought and then having to cover it up because you don't want anyone to know that it's there. Judgments are confessions and they're great. When you judge, you're just confessing that you have a value system, pride, gluttony, greed, envy. It all boils down to one of the vices or one of the sins or one of the passions that all of us were told we shouldn't have. So instead, we kick in victimization to pretend we don't feel these things, but we really do. It's okay. It's covert power and it's manipulative because you're trying to hide what you really think and feel. This victim also keeps you from moving forward because then you go into punishing yourself and you don't want to show your pride. So you become excessively humble or feel guilty. All of these things are cover-ups to cover up your pride rather than just owning your prideful thinking and continuing to move forward and creating from a new level of consciousness that you actually do love yourself, value yourself, will meet your needs, and will love yourself unconditionally. So the archetype of victim is the same archetype as the innocent. It's the same archetype as the codependent. It's the same archetype as the child. It's the same archetype as the addict. And it's the same archetype as someone who is wounded. The victim archetype is linked to staying in child and hoping, good or bad, that someone else will meet your needs. It leads you to codependence because then you have to stay innocent and continue the manipulation that you meet the other person's need and then in hopes that they meet yours. Really, this is simply being a wolf in sheep's clothing. You pretend to stay wounded rather than being an adult, heal your own wounds, love yourself unconditionally, say no, set limits, set boundaries, because then what would people say? Oh, he or she is proud. He or she is gluttonous. He or she is envious. They're going after their wealth. They're going after sex. They're going after their beauty. They're going after their money. Who said that we have to cap our happiness and use victimization and innocence and wounding to get our needs met? It's time that we change this. It's time that we show up as wolves, as warriors, going after what we want. And then once we've achieved those levels, then we could start setting some boundaries and becoming a true servant and giving something back. But you can't do that unless you're loving yourself and meeting your own needs. This vicious cycle has to stop. It's age of Pisces thinking. We're in the age of Aquarius. Victims will then use their emotions to purify the thought that they had around their pride. So if I judge you, I want to cover up I judge you, and then I go into an emotional despair with depression, with guilt, with remorse. It isn't really true. You're not really feeling this way. I always say guilt is a placeholder emotion for something less socially acceptable. Just own your thoughts. You don't have to purify with these emotions that aren't true, that keep you in low level consciousness. When you start to own your thoughts, good, bad, and ugly, and move forward in the world as an adult, you actually give others permission and power to own their thoughts, to go after their goals. And then we can eventually become the servants as indicated in the age of Aquarius. The opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo. Leo is pride. Leo is the sun. Leo is owning everything and still being individuated despite that. Then we can go into the age of Aquarius and serve. This victim thinking is age of Pisces thinking a savior, thinking someone else is going to come and do it for us. There's no one coming. It's you. So what is the solution? The number one solution is owning that you create everything because you knew no other way to get your love and your needs met. It's okay. Every single person does this. We are conditioned from a very young age to do this. So even if you don't feel it in your heart just yet, think it in your head. So fake it till you make it. Believe when something shows up, just simply reiterate to yourself, I created this. I may not know why yet. I don't know what need I want. I don't know what love I want, but I know I'm creating this because I know no other way. This is low vibration thinking. And just calling yourself out on that will already start to shift your consciousness. Immediately when you create a problem, any conflict, even if on paper, it doesn't seem like it is your fault. There is an earthly consciousness that will show you that it is not your fault. But the spiritual consciousness is the one that overrides that and says, yes, you created it in an attempt to raise consciousness level. So immediately just take responsibility for it And then stop and ask yourself, where do I do that same behavior? So if you're judging someone for being lazy or late, have you ever been lazy or late? That simple check-in will automatically bring you back to yourself. This will begin the process of raising consciousness, of you taking responsibility, and get you out of victim thinking. This is the way to getting your needs met, to loving yourself unconditionally, to choosing yourself, and to changing your life.